You are not stuck because you lack talent. You are stuck because the values guiding your life are silently betraying you. That sentence should bother you. Because most people believe their problems come from outside, from the economy, from competition, from bad luck, from unfair systems. But that belief is the real trap. It keeps you comfortable, it keeps you innocent, and it keeps you weak. The truth is darker and far more uncomfortable. Your results are a perfect reflection of what you truly value, not what you claim to value. And until that changes, nothing else will. You wake up every day thinking you're in control. You think your decisions are logical, deliberate, conscious. But beneath every action, every hesitation, every excuse, there is a value system quietly pulling the strings. Values decide what you tolerate. Values decide what you pursue. Values decide what you sacrifice. And most people never choose their values. They inherit them, absorb them, or drift into them without ever questioning the cost. Jim Rohn used to say that success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day, while failure is nothing more than a few errors in judgment repeated daily. But here is the deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Those daily disciplines and errors are not habits, they are values in motion. Look around you. The world is filled with people who work hard but go nowhere, people who hustle endlessly yet feel empty, people who build businesses that look impressive from the outside but rot from the inside. This isn't because they're lazy or stupid. It's because their core values are misaligned with the outcomes they want. They say they value freedom, but they worship comfort. They say they value growth, but they cling to certainty. They say they value honesty, but they fear conflict. And values always win. History is brutal about this. Machiavelli warned that men judge more by the eye than by the hand, because everyone can see, but few can feel. What he meant was simple people are ruled by appearances, including their own. You can appear disciplined while valuing ease. You can appear ambitious while valuing approval. You can appear moral while valuing safety over truth. But reality doesn't reward appearances, it rewards alignment. The first value that transforms everything is personal responsibility, not the motivational poster version, not the polite, socially acceptable version, the ruthless version. The kind that says everything in my life, directly or indirectly, is my fault. This value is terrifying because it removes all hiding places. If your business is failing, it's not the market, it's your decisions. If your relationships are shallow, it's not bad luck, it's your standards. If your potential feels trapped, it's not fate, it's your tolerance for mediocrity. Most people avoid this value because it feels cruel. But in reality, it's the most compassionate value you can adopt, because the moment you take responsibility, you reclaim power. Jim Rohn said you cannot change the seasons, but you can change yourself. That single idea separates leaders from victims. Victims wait. Leaders act. Victims explain. Leaders adjust. And here's the darker layer most won't tell you: responsibility is the price of freedom. If you refuse to pay it, you will spend your life buying excuses instead. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Responsibility without standards becomes self-blame. That's why the second core value matters: discipline. Standards, not goals, not dreams. Standards. Goals are what you aim for. Standards are what you refuse to fall below. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius didn't ask how to be happy, he asked how to be unbreakable. Standards turn chaos into structure. They decide what behavior is acceptable from you, even when no one is watching. Most people negotiate with themselves too easily. They lower the bar in moments of fatigue, stress, or fear. And every time they do, they reinforce a silent agreement: this is who I am. Over time, that agreement becomes identity. Jim Rohn warned that we suffer one of two pains: the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Discipline weighs ounces. Regret weighs tons. Standards are how you choose which pain you'll live with. In business, standards determine culture. In life, standards determine character. If you tolerate sloppy thinking, you get sloppy results. If you tolerate dishonesty with yourself, you get self-deception. And self-deception is the most expensive habit you can have. It costs you time, it costs you clarity, it costs you momentum. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Standards collapse without the third value: long-term thinking. Humans are biologically wired for short-term survival, not long-term mastery. That's why instant gratification feels so natural and delayed gratification feels so heavy. Jim Rohn constantly emphasized the law of sowing and reaping. You don't reap in the same season you sow. That law governs money, health, relationships, and personal growth. Break it, and life breaks you back. Most people live as if consequences are optional. They make decisions for today and hope tomorrow will forgive them. But the future is ruthless. It collects interest. Long-term thinkers ask a different question. Not how do I feel about this now, but what does this become if repeated for 10 years? One bad habit seems harmless. 10 years of it becomes destiny. One good discipline seems insignificant. 10 years of it becomes legacy. This is where businesses fail quietly. They chase quarterly numbers at the expense of trust. They sacrifice culture for speed. They trade reputation for revenue. And it works briefly. Until it doesn't. Long-term thinking is not slow, it's strategic patience. It's understanding that real power compounds invisibly before it becomes obvious. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Long-term thinking requires the fourth value, truth over comfort. This is where most people collapse. Truth threatens identity. Comfort protects ego. Jim Rohn said it's easy to lie to yourself because you listen so well, and no one lies to you more convincingly than you. You call fear being realistic. You call avoidance waiting for the right time. You call weakness being kind. Truth doesn't care about your feelings. It cares about accuracy. In business, truth shows up as brutal feedback, honest numbers, and uncomfortable conversations. In life, truth shows up as self-awareness, the ability to see yourself as you are, not as you wish to be. And the Nietzsche warned that people prefer comforting illusions to dangerous truths. And that preference is why most lives stay small. If you build your life on comfort, you will need lies to sustain it. If you build it on truth, discomfort becomes temporary, but clarity becomes permanent. Truth sharpens decisions. Comfort dulls them. And dull decisions create predictable failures. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Truth without courage is useless. That brings us to the fifth core value, courageous action. Insight without execution is entertainment. Knowledge without action is intellectual vanity. Jim Rohn was obsessed with this idea. He believed that ideas don't work unless you do. And the gap between knowing and doing is filled with fear. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's the decision that something else matters more. In business, courage means making decisions before you feel ready. Raising prices when your value demands it. Saying no when saying yes feels safer. Leaving environments that reward conformity instead of excellence. In life, courage means disappointing people to stay loyal to yourself. It means choosing growth over belonging. Machiavelli understood that fortune favors the bold, not because the bold are reckless, but because indecision invites chaos. The world does not reward potential. It rewards movement. And movement requires courage. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Courage burns out without the sixth value, continuous self-education. Not formal education, not credentials, relentless learning. Jim Rohn said formal education will make you a living, self-education will make you a fortune. But more importantly, it will make you adaptable. And adaptability is survival in a changing world. The moment you stop learning, you start defending outdated beliefs. You confuse familiarity with truth. You cling to old strategies because they once worked. History punishes this brutally. Entire empires fell because they refused to adapt. Businesses collapse not because they lack resources, but because they lack curiosity. Learning is humility in action. It's admitting you don't know enough yet. It's staying sharp in a world that rewards relevance. And here's the uncomfortable layer. If you're not deliberately learning, you're passively decaying. There is no neutral position. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Learning alone doesn't transform. The final value does. Value number 7, contribution beyond yourself. This is where success either becomes hollow or meaningful. Jim Rohn believed that the ultimate measure of life is not what you get, but what you become and what you give. When success is only about you, it shrinks you. When it's about impact, it expands you. Contribution creates meaning. Meaning sustains effort. Effort builds mastery. Mastery creates value, and value attracts opportunity. This is the full loop. Businesses built only on profit eventually cannibalize themselves. Lives built only on self-interest eventually feel empty. Contribution aligns ambition with purpose. And now we circle back to the beginning. You are not stuck because you lack talent. You are stuck because the values guiding your life are silently betraying you. Change the values and behavior follows. Change behavior and results follow. Change results and identity follows. This is not motivation. It's mechanics. The question is not whether these values are true. The question is whether you are brave enough to live by them. Because the moment you do, your old life will start to feel impossible to return to. And that discomfort you feel right now, that's the cost of transformation. By now, you understand that values are not ideas, they are operating systems. They run silently in the background, shaping every decision, every hesitation, every rationalization. And once you see that, you can't unsee it, which creates a dangerous moment because awareness without alignment creates inner conflict. And inner conflict always demands resolution. Most people resolve it by numbing themselves. They scroll, they distract, they stay busy. Anything to avoid the quiet moment where the truth starts asking for action. Jim Rohn warned that we must all suffer one of two pains: discipline or regret. But here's the darker layer. Regret doesn't arrive loudly. It arrives politely disguised as someday. Someday I'll focus. Someday I'll be disciplined. Someday I'll live by higher standards. And someday becomes never. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Values are revealed under pressure. Anyone can talk about responsibility when things are calm. Anyone can preach truth when it's convenient. But pressure exposes what you actually value. When money is tight, do you choose integrity or shortcuts? When growth demands discomfort, do you choose courage or familiarity? When success isolates you, do you choose contribution or ego? Pressure doesn't create character. It reveals it. This is why so many businesses collapse right after a breakthrough. The money comes faster than the values mature. The identity lags behind the opportunity. And suddenly, the person who once chased freedom becomes enslaved by the very thing they built. Jim Rohn used to say that income rarely exceeds personal development. And when it does, the fall is violent. Let's talk about the invisible enemy now, inconsistency. Inconsistency is not a time management problem. It's a value conflict. You don't fail to act because you're lazy. You fail to act because two values are competing and the weaker one keeps losing. You say you value growth, but you value comfort more. You say you value independence, but you value approval more. And every day, those hidden priorities cast votes through your behavior. Jim Rohn believed that success is a few simple disciplines practiced daily. The word daily matters, because inconsistency is how potential dies quietly. Not through one catastrophic failure, but through small compromises repeated until momentum evaporates. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Your environment is constantly negotiating your values downward. People like to believe they are independent thinkers. They're not. Human beings are social mirrors. We unconsciously calibrate our standards to the people around us. If everyone around you tolerates excuses, excuses start feeling reasonable. If mediocrity is normal, excellence starts feeling extreme. This is why Jim Rohn famously said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." Not because of motivation, but because of normalization. Your environment trains you what to expect from yourself, and expectations shape behavior. High-value people protect their environment ruthlessly. They curate conversations. They limit access. They choose proximity with intention. Not out of arrogance, but out of survival, because values are fragile when surrounded by resistance. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Most people are not afraid of failure. They are afraid of responsibility for success. Failure gives you excuses. Success gives you obligations. Success demands consistency. It demands leadership. It demands that your standards rise permanently. Jim Rohn understood this. That's why he taught that becoming successful is more important than achieving success. Because achievement without identity change creates internal sabotage. This is why people self-destruct right after winning. They outgrow their old identity but never build a new one. Their values can't support the weight of their results. So they unconsciously destroy what they built, just to return to psychological familiarity. If you've ever wondered why you sabotage momentum, this is why. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Values must be practiced before they are needed. You don't develop discipline during chaos. You reveal it. You don't find courage in crisis. You rely on it. You don't discover integrity under pressure. You demonstrate it. Jim Rohn emphasized preparation, not prediction. You don't prepare for the future by guessing what will happen. You prepare by becoming the kind of person who can handle whatever happens. That is the real function of values. They make you antifragile. The Stoics believe that character is fate. Not because destiny is fixed, but because consistent choices create predictable outcomes. Values are the root. Circumstances are the fruit. Change the root. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Adopting higher values will cost you relationships, not because you become worse, but because you become different. When your standards rise, comfort-based relationships start feeling tense. When you stop complaining, complainers feel exposed. When you stop participating in excuses, people who rely on them feel judged, even if you never say a word. This is the silent tax of growth. Jim Rohn never sugarcoated it. He knew that personal development creates separation before it creates expansion. But the alternative is far worse, shrinking yourself to maintain belonging. You cannot build an uncommon life with common values. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Values are not chosen once. They are reinforced daily. Every small decision is a vote. Every action is a confirmation. You are constantly telling yourself who you are. And the most convincing voice you hear is your own behavior. Motivation fades. Inspiration decays. But identity persists. This is why rituals matter more than goals. Rituals embody values. They turn philosophy into muscle memory. Jim Rohn believed that success is something you attract by the person you become. And becoming happens through repetition, not revelation. Small disciplines. Daily alignment. Relentless honesty. This is how transformation actually happens. Now listen carefully. You don't need to adopt all 7 values perfectly. Perfection is procrastination in disguise. You need to stop betraying the ones you already know are true. Because deep down, you already know what you should be doing. The frustration you feel isn't confusion. It's resistance. And resistance is the final signal. It means you're standing at the edge of change. You are not stuck because you lack talent. You are stuck because the values guiding your life are silently betraying you. And until you decide consciously, ruthlessly, permanently what you stand for, your life will continue to drift. Not because you're unlucky, but because drift is what happens when values are undefined.